welcome back to the This Is Fine podcast. My name is Dana Beeler, and I am doing okay. I'm doing all right. I feel a little less overwhelmed than I think I did when I started this, which I guess means that this is doing what it's supposed to do. I wanted to quickly just say thank you to Beasley for all of their help with this podcast. Beasley is a design and fashion brand that just released their first online magazine featuring an interview with Halifax artist Johan Black. You can read that now and check out the clothing line at thebeasley.com, THEBZLY.com. This week I talked to Kaia Kater. Kaia is a dear friend of mine. I have known her since she was a teenager. Kaia Kater is a wonderful banjo player, songwriter, and singer from Toronto, Ontario. I'm really happy that I got a chance to talk with her. And so we're going to feature a couple songs, conversation, and hope you enjoy. How are you?
I'm up and down.
Yeah.
This thing is crazy. How are you?
Today is a good day.
Good.
I feel good, which is nice because I know that last week was really hard.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there are more hard weeks to come. But right now I feel normal, which is weird.
I feel okay in the same way of I'm working from home, but I did that before anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And I was originally writing. I was taking a month off to write, so I was going to be here anyway.
Yeah. Are you staying inside mostly?
Yeah.
Okay.
We have a very cozy apartment.
Good.
So it's okay, but just feels like living in strange times.
Yeah. How is that affecting if you took time off to write, are you writing or are you pretty much just trying to wrap your head around what's happening?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting that you bring that up because I saw this post by Rachel Cardiello, who, for listeners who don't know, she's a musician, a great musician. And she posted this thing that said, look, if you don't owe it to anyone to spin this crisis into gold or to write a song out of it. And because it came halfway through my writing month to write, I had been really productive in the first half of the month. And then when all this hit, I was like, oh, I can just write my way through this. I should just I need to just continue as I was, and just use this to spur me on and be even closer to my emotions so I can exploit them for songs. Just so ruthless. I would imagine a I don't know, those old timey comics of an old bald man smoking a cigar and being see, we're gonna make some profit. Wait.
And you're saying that to yourself. It's not your manager or anything like that.
No, it's me. I'm like, yes, Kaia, use it.
Oh my God.
But yeah, and there were these posts floating around, as we're all probably too much on social media, and I saw these posts floating around that was when Shakespeare was quarantined, he wrote King Lear. I was okay, this is my time, But reading Rachel's post, she just kind of said, sometimes facing economic instability doesn't make you want to write a song.
Yeah, at all.
At all. So I've been trying to ride that wave, and I'm in a songwriting group, which is good, and it's consistent, and you submit one song a week, which I've been able to keep up with. But I've just been kind of trying to lay off of myself a little bit with this pressure to keep going.
Yeah.
No matter what,
Yeah, I feel that. I feel like last week, I don't know what day it is, but I think it was last week, and I was not just like wasn't well. I spent a lot of time just sort of like laying on the couch watching TV and feeling like everything that I've worked for has like disappeared. And I don't know, I feel better now, so it's like weird to talk about that, but like I feel bad for people who are feeling like that, because when there's like no end in sight, or you don't know what the next like 3 or 4, 6 months even looks like, and you don't know what the world's going to look like on the other side of this, it's really hard to be creative and also like think about what your career is going to be like, I guess. Yeah, it's weird.
And because you lost a tour, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we had a bunch of UK dates, so that's gone, and they're moving a bunch of the shows to September, but I just am like, I don't know what's gonna happen, like I don't know what September's gonna look like right now, and I don't know what the world's gonna look like at that point in time, and also like financially, how am I gonna be able to afford this? Because the job that I have like 2 jobs, and the job that I use to like finance my like music career mostly, and like my trips, I'm not working at right now, so I don't have that like extra $600 or like $700 a month to like boost that, so I don't really know what I'm gonna do. But I'm sure I'll figure it out. It's just like that was really daunting last week, to not 2 weeks ago even, just to like be like, oh fuck, like what is happening?
Yeah.
And then our Canadian dates are getting canceled. Just today I got the email finally being like, oh yeah, we should probably get rid of these, because I'm pretty sure people were just like, yeah, no, this isn't happening. But you have to call people and talk to them. So
It feels unprecedented. And
Mhm.
I feel like that word is getting circulated so much,
Yeah.
and like there's overuse of that word unprecedented, and also strangely the word amid, like
Amid.
everything is amid, like this happens amid coronavirus outbreak.
You've been listening to the news too much.
Yeah, when I have like a top 10 list of words. But yeah. No, it's strange, and I was actually, thanks for telling me that you were feeling paralyzed, because
Oh yeah.
I've been reading about this, and it just seems like, I don't want to be over dramatic, but someone recently called this just a grieving process, like
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard that a lot.
like
Yeah.
and that like a lot of what we're feeling is anticipatory grief, which would be similar to like a loved one getting a diagnosis or
Mhm.
something, of an illness, and you're kind of like, that that your life has changed, but you're not quite sure in what ways it's going to change yet.
Yeah.
And and I for me, like I met that process last week with, like I said, the bald capitalist with a cigar in his mouth saying like, we're gonna spin this, and I was so determined to keep this like very cavalier attitude about everything, just be like,
Mhm.
I'm just gonna keep going. And I feel like the paralysis kind of hit me like over the weekend, and it was just these bouts of like crying on and off,
Yeah.
and then kind of rallying, but like not feeling that same thing of like, well, what's this all for?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my
It's all
gosh, yeah.
gone, like all that stuff,
And
and then feeling guilt for being in a place where like I don't have dependents, I don't have
yeah.
kids, like just feeling like feeling feelings about my feelings,
Yeah.
and just be like, like that.
The circle is
Oh,
real.
circular.
Yeah, I definitely get that, and I feel like that's not going to stop happening. My biggest thing was like, A, I felt like everything was disappearing, and then B, it felt like everything that I'd worked for was pointless because I was like, I'm not a doctor. I should have been a doctor. I should have done something that could help people. Like I should be able to like make the things that people need in this time. And I had a conversation with another friend of mine, and she was just like, you're allowed to be like, you're allowed to grieve. You're allowed to be upset that like the thing that you worked for is going away or like gone. And that doesn't mean that like everything is purposeless. And I was like, well, yeah, I guess. But I don't know, man. I don't know how I don't know how people would I don't know how people would just be like acting normal in this situation. To feel like everyone is losing something at some point, whether it's like your ability to leave your home or your ability to see your friends or family or your job or all of those things. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's strange to be kind of experiencing that as a collective.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's like the only comforting thing is that everyone is experiencing this.
Right.
I guess.
Yeah.
If that's comforting.
It is, I think, in a kind of like morbid way. Like it is comforting. Just like I'm not the only one going through this. Literally
Yes.
everybody else is too.
Thank God. Yeah.
New Colossus teaches us the sacred myth, stalks the limits of my living room, and cuts me clean in half. Oh, time, minute hand spins you around the plane, spins the big machine as it descends again. Every tortured day, praying mantis scream. Every hiss from you, a glimpse into the creep. My limbs would split the wind to fractions of its shape. Split the big machine and leave you there to wait. Speculator in the
What's your day-to-day like right now? Like, what are you keeping a routine? Are you doing whatever you want? Stay in your pajamas all day?
Well, I'm trying to go to bed between 11 and midnight,
Okay.
which for me is a very early bedtime.
Wow.
Because I usually, in the before the pandemic hit, I think I had a tendency to like stay up later, which wasn't healthy anyway. But so I'm trying to go to bed at like 11. No screens, reading before bed. Like I'm reading The Scarlet Letter right now, actually, which for listeners who don't know, it's this novel by Nathaniel Hawthorne about this woman, Hester Prynne, who in like I think the early 1700s was accused of being an adulteress. This was at like a puritanical settlement in Massachusetts, and so she was socially outcast, and she had a child with the man whom I won't reveal who it is, but she had a tryst with him and had a child, and she was just kind of spurned from society. And so it's interesting to read about a character who had her own form of social distancing, just more like moralistic, puritanical social distancing.
Before we even knew what social distancing was.
Yeah, it was happening. But it's funny because I'm talking to friends who are reading, like, some people are reading like sci-fi, which I find to be a little too freaky for this time. But it's interesting to see like what people are reading and listening to for comfort.
Yeah. Are you listening to podcasts?
Yeah, I've been listening to Modern Love a lot.
Oh, okay. I don't know that one. I write it down.
It's a New York Times one, but it's just people reading essays. There's a Modern Love column in the New York Times, and it's they all have this theme of love, but it's not like
mushy.
Yeah, it's more interesting than that.
Cool.
Some of them are about friendships, which also sounds mushy, but
it's nice though.
Yeah, and it's a good, like, for me, it's a good sidestep to all this to remember that there's more than just this epidemic happening. But then I also, I do listen to like a lot of news podcasts and stuff like that.
I started listening to The Daily just because my friend was like, you should listen to this. Like, listen to this one episode about the coronavirus. And I did. And then I was like, this is actually like good reporting on like different subjects, which is nice. Because I normally don't listen to the news because it makes me sad and I don't like feeling sad. So, which is
what are you? No, it's not. What are you doing for comfort?
Oh, for comfort. I mostly am like cooking and cleaning, not because it's dirty, but just because that makes me feel better and like I'm in control. I've been exercising a lot, like every day that I can, which isn't something that I normally do, but it's helping like clear my brain for sure. This is very helpful and also is consuming a lot of my evening so that I'm not going to bed at 8 p.m. like an old lady, because I would do that. And then I'd wake up at 6 and then what do you do at 6 a.m.? Nothing.
No, there's nothing to do at 6 a.m.
Do you have a tour planned?
I
know you were taking a month off, but
yeah, so I was supposed to play a few things, the Canadian Folk Music Awards, and then a few events in the States in April and May, and those have all been canceled. So right now I'm operating under like a June window.
Okay.
But I'm also like, you asked me about routine, and I just talked about my bedtime, which
thank you
about bedtime already. But I've been doing this meditation, and it's all about like releasing your need to know things right away and to be in control of things right away, especially in times of uncertainty. And so I don't know if it's nihilist of me, but I'm just trying to, like, you know, if my June shows happen, great. If they don't happen, great. Like, just trying to be, just trying to kind of release my control over it, rather than saying like, well, if I just deal with this, then in June everything will come back and everything will go back to normal.
Right.
Because I feel like if I operate under that premise, then I'm going to be disappointed again, because I'm not the same person I was, you know, a month ago, and we're not the same. You know, we're not the same country, and people are dealing with anxiety, and there's a lot of economic uncertainty.
Yeah.
And so, and I don't know if that's nihilist of me. I had that same feeling that you did of just being like, well, I'm useless, you know, like I should have like taken organic chemistry and anatomy and done something with my life. God damn it. Instead of writing songs. But yeah, that's sort of what I've been focusing on in my meditation, is just like trying to release that pressure on the future to like come back into focus. But it's difficult, mostly because because we all rely on these gigs for our livelihoods, and you know, stuff falling through for a long time means that we're all going to have to rethink how we operate and how our businesses operate, you know?
Yeah. Have you thought about that? How you'll, I don't know, you have like multiple booking agents, you have a manager, you have like a label situation. So you have all of these people who are relying on you to make money in order to get their share of it. How are you having conversations with them about how you'll go forward in the next couple months, I guess?
You know, I have my booking agents, strangely enough, were just so, Canadian and American, were just so busy these past 10 days, just voiding contracts and rescheduling shows. And so I'm still waiting to have a meeting with both of them. Like I live with my partner who's a bass player, and he plays in my band. But you know, he's been starting to talk about taking a second job, or like taking a few other jobs, or like he's going down to babysit his niece. She's she's like 9 months old, and you know, her parents are like both working from home, and like they need help with childcare, and so he's gonna go down and like take care of her, and that's gonna shore up a lot of his missed gigs. And I'm like, okay, I have some grant funding. Like I said, I was writing anyway, and so I was planning to not work, but I think that I'm probably going to have to figure something out. My immediate response was just to move to a more affordable city. Try and like lower my expenses as much as possible, and to try and to develop other skills. If you don't mind me going off on a tangent.
That's okay.
So before this all happened, I was writing a piece. I do a little bit of writing on the side for publications, and I was thinking about writing this piece about how, as artists, we're so dependent on touring, and how touring can be so fun, but also so caustic to us, like emotionally and environmentally. And economically it can be tough. And I was feeling like there's, you know, like at some point the other shoe was going to drop, and, you know, something was going to happen where we were all going to have to like figure out what we can do to diversify our income, you know. And so I was thinking about this, and I wonder if like creative people or musicians are just used to like pivoting really immediately to other things, like in that way of like just kind of being ready to like you starting your podcast.
Yeah.
You know. And so my plan to pivot was maybe to try and get into like writing for film, or like trying to monetize my article writing, or just kind of try to use the skills that I already have to lessen my dependency on touring when it's becoming more and more clear that we might not all go back to touring right away.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a bit of a mash up in my head, but those are all the things I'm thinking about.
Yeah, I really don't. And I'm like, I keep having these conversations with different artists who are at like different levels about touring, and everyone, it seems like all artists that I've talked to seem to be in the same level where they're like, I don't think that we're going to be able to do this year. You know what I mean? I don't think that this is a thing that's going to happen. And then I am talking to some industry people who are like ready to go for July. Like, let's just move it to July. And I think that like the mentality between the two like different sides of the industry it's so interesting to like hear those conversations, because like I don't think that we're going to be good to go in July. I don't think we're going to be good to go in September, to be honest. I think like this year is a wash, which is kind of scary to say and difficult to say, but like I don't know what else to do. I don't know what else to like expect from a situation like this, because everyone is going to be financially devastated. I think people are going to be afraid to go outside when they are allowed to go back outside. I think people are going to be afraid to travel. And we don't really know what the timeline is. So I don't know.
It's a big question mark.
Right? It's
yeah.
Weird. I wish I had more like substantial things to say about it, but I don't know.
I mean, maybe that's like an okay place to be in, is like for us kind of not to know and to, you know, because I don't know. I just feel like there's so much punditry about what's going to happen and what this means, and like, you know, and yeah, there's so much like need for certainty, like certainty about uncertainty. And like, and there's so many layers, and I just feel like, I mean, I think you're right. The estimates that I've seen from the Imperial College in London were saying, you know, this is a long game suppression game with this virus, which means that like the restrictions are lifted, and then as soon as, you know, the rates of infection spike again, we go back to this, and then they're going to be lifted, and their estimate was 18 months of that.
Jesus.
You know, and that's so scary. That's terrifying. But also, yeah, maybe that's like that's a possible reality. I assume the possible reality is that, you know, everything goes back to normal.
Yeah.
That's possible. But yeah, we don't know. I'm curious about like what other artists have said about what their attitudes are about
Everyone,
the year.
it seems pretty like chill. Like everyone's like, yeah, I mean, if it happens, it happens. If not, then it doesn't happen. Which I find it funny because this is a lot of people's livelihoods. But I also understand that like we can't. I don't know. You can't force it to work, so you just sort of have to like sit back and take it. I guess like that sounds awful, but I don't know what else. You know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely like the conversations that I'm having is everyone's like, yeah, this sucks, but you know, they'll figure out a different way. I think it's really what you said about diversifying your like income stream is like very important. I am lucky I have multiple jobs and multiple streams of income. So if like one thing fails, I can like do something else, which is good. It's not all of the money I'd like to be making in a month, but it is enough to live on and I can like do my thing. So I'm lucky and I really feel like uh people who this is their only music is your only like form of money is it's gonna be very difficult.
Yeah.
It's gonna be very difficult.
Surf the wave now. Taste the metal on your tongue. March the dogs of war into the sun. Heave and cry out, low the plains they dug and punched. Melt the candy clouds and parchment lungs. 2 seasons invade, a tremor and sway, with hands on grenades, drive the light from the shade, like an orange blockade, we always seem to get played, see the men on parade, see the men on parade. She splits the atom in the night, feel her as she turns. Sing to her trumpet trees and watch them burn. Heave and cry out, call the priestess to the sound. Pluck the tyrant from the brim and watch him drown. 2 seasons invade, a tremor and sway, with hands on grenades, drive the light from the shade, like an orange blockade, we always seem to get played, see the men on parade. Rain heavy like carpet bombs, sweetgrass and lemonade. Fold the memory into your arms and whisper it away. 2 seasons invade, a tremor and sway, with hands on grenades, drive a light from the shade, like an orange blockade, we always seem to get played, see the men on parade, see the men on parade. You can shout at the mountain, but they've already crowned him with his crowds of 10,000. already crowned him. You can shout and surround him, but they've already crowned him with his crowds of 10,000. Yeah, they've already crowned him. You can shout at the mountain, but they've already crowned him with his crowds of 10,000.
I would love for you to play the title track, Grenades, because it's just about going through. It's a story of my dad going through the invasion of Grenada, which was a really violent and scary time. And I wrote that song. Actually, I wrote it at your house.
Yeah, right. I forgot about that. That's so crazy.
Yeah, and it's just kind of like, it's about being in that space where you don't know what to do, and you're like feeling a little bit helpless. And I think it's a good one for where we're all at right now. But it's also has that kind of faith and hope. And I was really assuming that, people were like pivoting. A lot of artists were pivoting to the online concert format.
Yes.
And I originally was a little bit skeptical of like, well, how's this gonna, like, is this what we're doing now?
Yeah, it's like free. How do you get paid? Like,
yeah, how do you monetize that?
Yeah.
What, and also the sudden, like, the total saturation of the market, of like, the online market. But I announced an online show happening tomorrow, which was actually funded through the National Arts Center and Facebook together, which was great.
Heather Gibson killing it.
She rocks. But yeah, anyway, and I was like, yeah, I'll announce this and I'll put it on Facebook and whatever. I'm already getting paid, so I don't need to like request donations. But people were so excited about it, and they were requesting songs, and they were asking where they could donate. And I have a little page up on my website where they can donate directly to me. And so many people have just done it. And I realized that, people, they aren't allowed to spend money
on anything else. Yeah.
On anything else right now. And people who are still making a salary and feeling comfortable enough, like, they want to help us.
Mm-hmm.
And they want to make sure that we're okay. And also we're providing a service, which is like music for them,
yes,
or a podcast, or some way for them to process what they're going through.
Yeah.
And totally. And I realized, like, it just kind of buoyed my spirits. It was like, okay, people are still in this and they're still with us. And,
yeah. And I feel like the Bandcamp day, like last Friday, I feel like a lot of people saw good sales from that, and people really like went out and supported artists. And I feel like there's more sharing on everyone's like timelines of like other artists. I know I'm sharing a lot more of other artists, just being like, this person's doing something, pay attention to them. And like music industry associations are doing a really good job of promoting the artists in their provinces. It's like, it does seem like the music industry is stepping up and like not sitting back, which is nice. It's like inspiring to see. And I appreciate that I can like watch that and kind of like jump in when I feel mentally prepared to jump into that situation.
Yeah. It was like everybody, in the first week, like everybody took a deep breath and like, everybody like proverbially sat on their couches and like stared into space and was like, what is happening? And then like, 5 days later, it was like, okay, what are we doing to like, to help this thing and to help each other?
Okay, cool. Well, that's all I have for you.
Wonderful.
Thank you so much for talking to me. Stay safe and wash your hands.
I will. Right back at ya.
Okay. Talk to you soon.
Okay, bye.
Thanks so much for listening to This Is Fine, a podcast for the pandemic. Make sure that you check out Kaia's music on Spotify, Apple Music, pretty much anywhere you can find music. And her website is kaiakater.com, KaiaKater.com. And I hope that you are staying safe, staying inside, and washing your hands until they bleed.